The soft glow of my phone screen cut through the pre-dawn darkness, a familiar comfort. I reached for it, expecting the usual stream of news alerts, or perhaps a weather update. Instead, a stark notification filled the display, its bold letters an immediate jolt to my system. Your credit score just dropped 50 points. My breath hitched. 50 points. Just like that. It felt like a punch to the gut, a betrayal from a system I had meticulously served for years. I blinked, rereading the words, my mind trying to process the impossible. My financial habits were, by all accounts, impeccable. Every bill paid on time, sometimes even early. Credit utilization kept low, always. No new debt, no missed payments, no sudden large purchases. I lived by the book. A diligent student of personal finance, always making sure my financial house was in perfect order. This couldn't be right. Below the initial shock, another message appeared. This one from a credit reporting agency. It highlighted an obscure, almost academic-sounding factor, something about a recalibration of historical data weighting in relation to aggregated demographic shifts. My eyes scanned the jargon, but the words blurred. It felt like a deliberate obfuscation, a smokescreen designed to mask a deeper, more unsettling truth. I just stared at the screen. There was no shout, no frustrated sigh. Just a quiet, profound sense of vulnerability washing over me. It was a cold, internal realization that despite all my efforts, all my careful planning, I was still just a number, subject to invisible forces beyond my control. All the financial discipline, the missed dinners out, the homemade coffees, the careful budgeting, it all seemed to shrink in significance against this sudden, unprovoked assault. My sanctuary, my carefully built financial stability, felt exposed. It was a silent, bitter pill to swallow. This quiet understanding that even my best intentions could be undone by an algorithm I didn't even know existed. In the intricate dance of modern finance, even the most disciplined can find themselves tripping over an invisible step. This wasn't a stumble, it was a sudden, sharp fall. The world outside was still dark, oblivious to the seismic shift that had just occurred in my personal financial landscape. The clock on my phone read 5:47 a.m. Too early for anyone else to be awake, too early for me to even begin to understand. A single question began to form in my mind, growing louder with each second I spent staring at the screen. I started scrolling through the details, the endless fine print, the links to even more dense explanations. What hidden force could cause such an immediate and impactful shift? This wasn't an isolated incident. I knew it. There had to be something more, something systemic, something that could affect anyone, regardless of how careful they were. I needed to understand. I needed answers. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. My journey to this financial precipice wasn't a sudden detour. It was a path I thought I had paved with diligence and foresight. My life had always been about careful planning and responsibility, a conscious effort to build stability brick by brick. Every morning my alarm would sound at 5:30 a.m., not for a frantic rush, but for a calm start. I'd wake, stretch, and then, before anything else, open my budget app. It was a ritual, a quiet affirmation of control. I'd check my balances, review yesterday's spending, and mentally allocate funds for the day ahead. My coffee wasn't bought. It was brewed at home, a simple, cost-effective pleasure that saved me $5 a day, every day. It was a small thing, but it added up, symbolizing my approach to finance. The commute was another example. No car, no expensive gas, no parking fees, just the steady rhythm of the public transport. During the ride, my headphones were always on, not for music, but for financial podcasts. I absorbed advice on investing, saving, and avoiding common money traps. I'd watch others scrolling through online shopping sites, effortlessly adding items to carts, but I resisted. Impulse purchases were financial quicksand, and I knew it. My workday was stable, providing a consistent income, though never extravagant. Lunch was always packed from home, carefully prepared the night before. The office break room often smelled of takeout, pizza, or fancy sandwiches. But I stuck to my homemade meal, resisting the subtle pressure to conform. My colleagues' spending habits were their own. Mine were rooted in discipline. Evenings were a continuation of this routine. Dinner was cooked at home, usually something simple and healthy. After cleaning up, I'd settle down to pay bills online, meticulously checking each statement for any discrepancies. Credit card statements were reviewed line by line, ensuring every charge was mine, every fee understood. Weekends weren't for lavish escapades. They were for budget-friendly hobbies, hiking in local parks, reading books from the library, or tackling home maintenance projects myself rather than hiring someone. My modest established neighborhood was filled with similar-minded families. My aunt, a retired accountant, often shared her own financial wisdom during our Sunday calls, reinforcing my values. My brother, a carpenter, was equally meticulous with his own budget, often swapping tips on how to save on household repairs. We were a family that understood the value of a dollar. Yet, despite this meticulousness, there had been small tremors, minor instances of financial disrespect that, at the time, seemed insignificant. I remembered the utility company briefly misplacing a payment once. It caused a late fee, a small amount, but the hassle of getting it resolved, the calls, the proof of payment, left a sour taste. It was eventually fixed, but it highlighted how easily things could go wrong, even when you did everything right. Then there was the old, unused subscription service, a streaming platform I had tried once and forgotten about. It auto-renewed for a small monthly amount, unnoticed for months until I happened to spot it on a bank statement. A small leak, but a leak nonetheless. And at work, a co-worker frequently boasted about his high-interest loans for new gadgets, a stark contrast to my own philosophy, a constant reminder of the differing financial worlds people inhabited. These weren't direct hits to my credit score, not then, but they built a foundation of underlying tension. There was the nagging feeling of dependence on automated systems, a sense that my financial well-being rested on invisible lines of code. A brief moment of panic when an online payment failed once due to a technical glitch, resolved quickly but leaving a lingering sense of vulnerability. And the constant bombardment of targeted ads for things I didn't need, creating a subtle pressure to spend, to deviate from my path. It was a quiet battle, constantly fought, to maintain my financial peace of mind against an increasingly complex and often opaque financial world. These small cracks, though seemingly minor, were perhaps foreshadowing the larger fault line that had just appeared. The answer finally came, not in a single dramatic revelation, but through painstaking research, clicking through obscure financial forums, and cross-referencing reports from consumer protection agencies. It wasn't a personal error, no forgotten bill, no missed payment on my part. The root cause was far more insidious. A new, previously unannounced data point being incorporated into credit scoring models across the industry. Specifically, it was the reweighting of small, infrequent transactions from non-traditional lenders. My credit score hadn't dropped because I did something wrong, but because the rules had changed without warning. It turned out that a specific type of microloan, one I had used years ago for a minor home repair and repaid perfectly on time, was now being scrutinized differently. These were small, short-term loans, often from fintech companies, designed to bridge gaps. Previously, their impact was minimal, often seen as a sign of financial agility. Now, they were being interpreted as a potential indicator of financial instability, especially if there were multiple instances, even if fully repaid. The algorithm had shifted, and my responsible use of a financial tool had become a liability. The culprit wasn't a person or a company I could confront directly. It was the opaque and ever-evolving nature of credit scoring itself. The antagonist was the system, constantly optimizing, constantly redefining what constituted risk or reliability, often without public discourse or clear communication to those most affected. This wasn't a data breach, nor a hidden clause in my savings account. It was a subtle, almost imperceptible shift in the underlying logic that governed my financial standing. I meticulously researched, piecing together fragments of information from financial news outlets discussing alternative data scoring and fintech lending impact. It was like assembling a complex puzzle, each article, each forum post, a tiny piece of the larger picture. My victory wouldn't be a sudden rebound to my previous score, but a deeper understanding, a renewed sense of control. The initial betrayal transformed into a clear-eyed view of the system's complexities. I identified concrete steps to mitigate the damage and protect my score from similar future shocks. First, proactive monitoring of new credit reporting trends became paramount. This meant not just checking my score, but actively seeking out news on how credit bureaus were evolving their models. Second, diversifying my financial accounts was key. Relying too heavily on one type of credit or one lending institution could prove risky if their scoring criteria changed. Third, I implemented new specific strategies to navigate this updated credit landscape. I closed certain older small credit lines that, while paid off, might now be viewed unfavorably due to their microloan nature by the new algorithms. I focused on building thicker credit files with traditional banks, emphasizing longer-term relationships. My credit score didn't magically rebound overnight, but I gained invaluable knowledge. My daily routine now includes these new proactive measures. I don't just check my budget app. I also spend time researching industry updates. My financial podcasts now include more in-depth discussions on regulatory changes and alternative data scoring. The quiet battle to maintain my financial peace of mind continues, but now I fight with better weapons, with a clearer understanding of the battlefield. The system is still complex, still opaque, but I am no longer a passive participant. I am an active strategist. In a world where financial rules can change without warning, true wealth lies not just in what you have, but in what you know.